Hello everyone, my name is drgdsharma and you are watching English, and in this video we are going to discuss about the supernatural elements in the plays of Shakespeare. As we know that Shakespeare has used fairies, ghosts and other supernatural elements in his dramas. So these days in examinations certain questions can be asked on these elements as well. So let us start the video. So let us first understand why Shakespeare had to use ghosts and fairies and other supernatural elements in his plays. Was it according to the taste of the audience he had to do something like this? So there had to be some kind of reason behind his using these elements in his plays. So the first thing is people were superstitious. The people of Elizabethan age were superstitious in nature. They believed in these kind of elements and as such would like to have them on the stage because stage or theatre was the chief source of entertainment, and this was because they believed in witchcraft and certain calamities were also associated with these workings of the supernatural elements. If any unexpected or unwanted event happened, so people associated it with the working of witchcraft or certain involvement of some supernatural agency. So they blamed unexpected or unexplained events as the work of witchcraft. So witchcraft was a commonplace thing in that age. They referred to these things as unseen beings or unseen creatures. The supernatural elements like witches, ghosts and fairies, they were termed or regarded as unseen beings or unseen creatures. Before we go, let me tell you that Unacademy is presenting you an exclusive interview with most celebrated author of Paper 1, Mr KS Madan. He is a pioneer in the field of NTA UGC NET Paper 1. His books have been a vital source of preparation for all the Paper 1 aspirants across India. And his books are also helping numerous other students to achieve their NTA UGC NET dream. The educator Aditi Vinod Arya will ask some important questions which in turn would be helpful for aspirants preparing for NTA UGC NET. Learners at any stage of their preparation will be benefited by the class. It is a free live session on Unacademy platform. This will be held on 27th of November 2020 at 6 pm. So enroll right now by clicking the link that is given in the description box below and enrich your knowledge and get benefited by the experience of the celebrated author Mr KS Madan. Moreover, there was also one of the major factors as well. People were in miserable condition in that age. They had to work for the landlords because of the Enclosure Movement. Enclosure Movement or simply enclosure. It was a legal process in England of consolidating small land holdings into larger farms from 13th-14th centuries onwards. We can refer to Chakbandi in our country as well. So this was a legal process of including or enclosing small land holdings into larger farms, and as such these larger farms were owned by landlords, the affluent people, and the small farmers. They had to resort to these landlords. They had to work for these landlords, and because of their tiny source of income and low wages, they had to suffer some kind of economical crisis as well. So whenever they had faced some kind of crisis, economical crisis or some other kind of famine or drought or other act of God or other natural calamities, they had to resort to God or some supernatural beings for relief. It was their belief, common belief, that God had given them such kind of problem and then He would certainly drive them back or out of these famines or droughts or calamities. So it was their belief that God exists and God has something to do with the lives of the people. He will certainly get them out of the trouble He has fallen them into. These conditions also aggravated their belief in supernatural elements. Moreover, the astrology of that time had also something to do with this kind of beliefs as well. The astrologers of the time agreed that man's fate was determined by the movement of the planet. So sometimes they held the stars and the planets responsible for the wrongs that was done to them by the nature. This all formed their belief in supernatural or paranatural activities or beings. So Shakespeare had many reasons to use these elements in his plays because the plays of the time were for the people of the time. The theatre was primarily for the people of the Elizabethan age, and whatever their likes and dislikes were, the dramatist or the playwright had to recreate on the stage. Moreover, the plays of the time were influenced by Greek and Roman mythological figures and gods, and there was influence of the Greek drama on the English stage as well. We can see that the revival of classical learning, particularly that of Euripides, Sophocles, Seneca, Aristophanes, their plays had left an indelible impact on the English stage. And in those plays, there was an ample use of Greek god and goddesses, the deities that were full of supernatural powers. So, in some or other way, the audience of Elizabethan age was preoccupied with the workings of supernatural elements in the lives of human affairs. And so they expected the same thing on the stage of English as well. Additionally, there was also an influence of mystery and miracle plays on the regular English dramas. As we know that mystery plays are the initial cycle plays where the stories from the Bible were portrayed or showcased on the stage or in cycle theatre. And that of miracle plays, the story was taken or based on the lives of saints. The saints or the figures of Bible were supposed to have some kind of supernatural powers with them. So these elements or these reasons aggravated the belief of Elizabethan audience. They believed and they expected the same thing to be shown on the stage. Literature is basically the representation of life, and Shakespeare, as a matter of fact, had to cater to the needs of the audience. He was not primarily a writer, he was a script writer for the English stage, and he had kept everything in his mind regarding the choice of Elizabethan age or the audience. And as far as Shakespeare's use of supernatural elements in his plays is concerned, there are many plays in which there are some inklings or some kind of indications or involvement of supernatural elements. However, particularly we will study here A Midsummer Night's Dream, Hamlet, Macbeth, Julius Caesar, and The Tempest. In these very plays, there are certain characters belonging to this class, supernatural class, and their involvement is quite discernible in the lives of common characters. First, let us take A Midsummer Night's Dream. When we talk about this play, A Midsummer Night's Dream, we can see it as a wonderland full of magic and enchantment, the beautiful scenery of the forest, and there is an involvement of the fairies and the spirits in the summer night. So there is a parallel world in this play, the world of supernatural elements, the world of fairies and spirits. The main storyline is of two Athens couples. One is Hermia and Lysander. Second couple is Helena and Demetrius. Because of the confusion, both Lysander and Demetrius happened to be falling in love with Hermia. And the confusion was created by the character Puck, who was instructed by Oberon to apply some love potion on Demetrius' eyelids. It was done in order for him to fall in love with the next person he saw. But Puck misapplied this love potion. He created some kind of confusion because of which Lysander and Demetrius they fell in love with the same girl Hermia. So the subplot, the story of Oberon, Puck and Titania is also there in this play. We will discuss the character of Oberon, Puck and Titania. First, let us understand the character of Puck. Puck is also known as Robin Goodfellow. This kind of question can be asked in the examination. What is the other name of the character Puck in A Midsummer Night's Dream? So it is Robin Goodfellow. Or the question can be asked the other way around, that which of the following characters is named as Robin Goodfellow in one of Shakespearean play. So Puck is named as Robin Goodfellow or Robin Goodfellow is named as Puck. Puck is a very mischievous kind of fairy. He is jester to Oberon. He serves Oberon and he is known for doing pranks. He enjoys himself in doing some kind of prank. And his important and most famous prank is to replace Nick Bottom's head with that of an ass, which becomes the main plot of the story as well. And in this way, Puck serves as the main thread of the play, and the main story as well as in the subplot. One thing is to be noted here that the kind of mischief that Puck does is not out of some kind of malice, some kind of ill will. It is just for the sake of fun, for the sake of entertainment, for the sake of lightheartedness, or it is out of goodwill. He didn't have any kind of evil intention. He didn't try to simply tease or torture the couples. It was a mischief because his nature was that of doing some kind of mischief. The famous critic Dodden, in his famous book Shakespeare Primer, that was published in 1877, he told about the character Puck. Puck, the jester of Fairyland, stands apart from the rest. The recognizable lob of spirits, a rough, fawn faced, shock patted little fellow, dainty limbed shape around him. So sometimes the kind of description of the Puck, the character Puck, can be asked in the examination. Now let us come to the character Oberon. Oberon is the king of fairies in this play. Actually, Oberon is a king of fairies in medieval Renaissance literature. So the character Oberon is famously known as a king of fairies, not only in the play but in the medieval Renaissance literature. And from this only it has been copied or taken in this play. Titania is the queen of fairies. The word Titania is taken from Ovid's Metamorphosis, and there she was given this name as a daughter of Titans, and she was a haughty kind of character there. So from that the name Titania has been taken. So in the play Oberon and Titania, they are both engaged in a dispute or argument or certain kind of debate over the custody of an Indian changeling boy. This fact has to be kept in mind very carefully. In which play of Shakespeare there is a mention of Indian changeling boy or Indian character or Indian boy. So it is Indian changeling boy, the only character, only Indian character in whole range of Shakespearean characters. So they are arguing about the custody of this Indian changeling boy. Changeling, actually it is a human like creature stolen by the fairies. Any human like or human looking character who is stolen or kept by the fairies is known as changeling. So they are arguing about his custody as to who would keep him. Oberon wants to keep this boy as his henchman, as his servant, as his page, or as his follower. While Titania wants to keep this boy and raise him for the sake of the mortal friend and follower who died giving birth to him. The mother of this little boy, Indian boy, was friend to Titania, and while giving birth to this character, she passed away. So in order to commemorate the memory of that mother and friend and follower, Titania wants to keep this child and raise him. So she had an emotional attachment with the lady and as such with this character, with this boy. However, Oberon wants to keep him as his servant. So they are arguing about the custody. This is the subplot of the story as well. The next play in which the supernatural elements are the main contents is the Tempest, and the dominant character of this class is Ariel only. Ariel is an airy spirit and it is the main content of the story. He is the connecting thread among all the characters as well. Ariel was rescued by Prospero from the imprisonment of the witch Sycorax. When Prospero came to that island, he wanted to cultivate this island according to his own choice. For this, he wanted some kind of support, some inhabitant who could assist him in his design. The character had some supernatural powers and as such would be his main assistance. And Ariel was in the imprisonment of that witch who was the main inhabitant of the island, Sycorax. So he rescued him from the clutches of that Sycorax, and as such he aided Prospero in his magical scheme. And Prospero used Ariel to manipulate the lives of other characters as well for his own purpose. When he evoked or conjured a sea storm on that island, so with the help of Ariel he manipulated the lives of other people. So in one way, Ariel is slave to Prospero. Prospero, as you know, he was the Duke of Milan, and then he was obsessed with sorcery and neglected daily matters. And due to this reason, his brother wanted to dethrone him and he attempted his murder. Fortunately, he escaped that attack and then landed on this island. and here he was seeking revenge on his brother, on all the people responsible for his sorry state. So the occasion fell in his favor after 20 years when King of Milan happened to cross that very path, and with the help of Ariel, Prospero conjured up a big storm and caused the ship carrying his brother to wreck on the island he was living. The situation as contrived by Ariel descended into chaos. So in one way we can say that Ariel, who had some supernatural and some other capabilities of doing many miraculous tasks, was slave to Prospero. His supernatural abilities were nothing before Prospero, as he owned his life. So in the play Tempest, supernatural elements are in the hands of human beings, which we don't see in other plays. In other plays, supernatural elements they dominate the lives of the common people, the characters. But here in this Tempest, supernatural elements, fairies, ghosts, chiefly a fairy, Ariel was dominated by a human character, Prospero. It is also interesting to note that the character Ariel also featured in other works as well. So Ariel also appeared in Paradise Lost, Book 6, in line number 371, and he appeared as a rebel angel. The character Ariel also figured in The Rape of the Lock, the satirical poem by Alexander Pope. He appeared in Canto 2 as the chief of the Fairies. Fairies, when they took charge of the security of Belinda. When Belinda was about to go outside for her customary roaming and playing and enjoyment. So Ariel anticipated that some doom is going to happen to Belinda, and he took himself as a guardian to Belinda. So Ariel figured in The Tempest, Rape of the Lock and Paradise Lost, Book 6. Now let us talk about the supernatural elements or the role of ghosts and spirits in tragedies, particularly in Hamlet. So unlike comedies where the involvement of supernatural machinery provokes laughter and merriness, their main role is to entertain or divert. However, in tragedies, their role or the appearance of ghost leads to the development of the plot and to cause seriousness. For example, in Hamlet, so ghost is the main character to cause or provoke Prince Hamlet to seek revenge. In that way, it furthers the plot of the story. And the ghost was of late King Hamlet. As far as his appearance is concerned, the ghost appears 4 times in the play. First, he appears before two soldiers, Bernardo and Marcellus, who were keeping a watch at the gate. When Bernardo and Marcellus told Horatio about the appearance of some mysterious creature like ghost, the ghost reappeared before Horatio as well. So second time the ghost appeared before Horatio, and he desired to meet his son Hamlet to tell about how he had been murdered and how his brother hatched a conspiracy against him and married his wife. So third time the ghost appeared to Hamlet and told how he had been murdered, how his uncle killed him while he was sleeping, and how his mother was also silent about what happened to him. And in this way, he wanted Prince Hamlet to seek revenge upon his uncle. Fourth time, the ghost appears in Gertrude's chamber. When Prince Hamlet and Gertrude they were having a talk in Act 3rd, so ghost appeared before Hamlet. Only Hamlet could see him this time and rebuked him for not carrying his revenge. Actually, when Hamlet got to know about the intention of the appearance of the ghost, he wanted to get it cross-checked. He got it cross-checked. He was confirmed about the conspiracy by his uncle, but some way or other he was not able to carry out his action, that is to kill his uncle. So ghost appeared before him to remind him about his objective in his life, to seek revenge, why he felt laxed, why he could not do so. So he appeared before Hamlet in Act 3rd. So in that way, the ghost foreshadowed Claudius' death and Hamlet's madness. After the appearance of ghost, Hamlet started behaving in an unusual way. So it also gave a clue whether Hamlet was really mad or he was feigning madness. Now let us talk about the role of supernatural elements and particularly of the witches in Macbeth. First we'll talk about the three witches who appeared in the very first scene of the first act. They predict Macbeth's life event in a wasteland or in a heath-like surrounding. These three witches met. They predicted about how the plot of the story is going to unfold and how Macbeth's life is going to affect the life of other characters in the story and how Macbeth's own life is going to be affected in turn. We observe that in an open, deserted wasteland, they mysteriously gather together and plan to meet again on this heath. We also get to know that they will meet Macbeth and predict something about his forthcoming life. Their capricious design, their capricious aim is also revealed in the opening scene. When they meet Macbeth, very cleverly and cunningly they welcome him. All hail to thee, Thane of Cawdor. All hail Macbeth, thou shalt be the king hereafter. And this kind of speeches are made to confuse the characters like Macbeth. Initially he got confused, but when the prediction came to be true, Macbeth had something in his mind as well. So whatever they predicted about the life of Macbeth, he started materializing. These witches depict Macbeth's dark and closed motives, and in this way they work as an instigator or accelerator to give freedom to his unfulfilled ambition. Macbeth may have some unfulfilled ambition in himself. The only thing he needed was some kind of instigation, and the instigation was there through the witches and the fourth witch of the play as well, Lady Macbeth. Lady Macbeth is also referred to as the fourth witch of the play. So first three witches appeared in Act 1, Scene 1. This is the first supernatural scene in the play. They mysteriously gather in deserted wasteland and plan to meet again in the heath. The language they use often confuses the victims, as we have seen in this speech. Macbeth is confused why he has been addressed as the Thane of Cawdor. For the second time, second appearance happened in Act 1, Scene 3. They speak in contradicting riddle to confuse Macbeth. When they say, lesser than Macbeth and greater. Not so happy, but much happier. The third appearance was made in Act 4, Scene 1. And this scene is famously known as Cauldron Scene, when they were preparing some kind of magical potion by including many animals and insects and poisonous insects into that boiling oil in order to prepare for some kind of conjuring. This scene is referred to as the most superstitious scenes of the play, and this scene is famous for the quote, double double toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble. So you need to remember how many times the appearance of witches was there in Macbeth and in what scenes and acts they occurred. These kind of things can be asked in the examinations. Other than the appearance of three witches, there is also Banquo's ghost as well, which appeared in Act 3rd, Scene 4th. This was at the end of the play. Banquo's ghost appeared before Macbeth at the banquet scene. The speciality of the supernatural element in Macbeth is that the ghost of Banquo and the witches could be seen by Macbeth only, and other supernatural elements could be also visualized by Macbeth only, just like the dagger scene. The appearance of Banquo's ghost reflects both Macbeth's loss of mind and his feeling of guilt, sorrow and fear. So it has some different significance as well. The appearance of Banquo's ghost reflects that Macbeth, though he had committed some kind of sin, or he kept on committing some kind of sin in order to hide his doings or misdoings, he also felt sorrowful and frightened at what he had done. So his guilt, sorrow and fear, or his frightened psyche, they were the result of his misdeeds. So in that way, the ghost of Banquo punishes and haunts Macbeth for the evil sins he has committed. The result is that Macbeth refers to the ghost as, thou canst not say I did it. Never shake thy gory locks at me. So he feels guilt-ridden and he wants that there should not be any kind of reminder before him of his guilt. Nothing or nobody should remind him of his guilt because he feels frightened from his within. So besides creating gothic atmosphere and suspense in the play, The appearance of ghosts and witches heightened the seriousness and psychological trouble of the characters as well. The ghost shows his fear as he tries to deny the murder. He was so terrified that he asks him to leave. He feels so obsessed by his guilt that he requests the ghost of Banquo, "Pray thee, see there, I want and quit my sight." Other supernatural scene in the play is the dagger scene, the famous dagger scene which occurred in Act 2nd, Scene 1st, when Macbeth is about to kill Duncan. So he visualized an imaginary dagger pointed towards him. Dagger with evil gives a push for Macbeth to commit a cruel act. The role of supernatural elements in Macbeth also to develop the plot, further plot. These elements acted as the drives for the characters to act upon. And in this scene, Macbeth expresses his thoughts and emotions while heading towards Duncan's chamber. So in one way or other, this scene also acts as an objective correlative as well. This scene only drives Macbeth to express his thoughts and emotions in the form of his soliloquy. Lastly, there is also some other supernatural element in the play when Lady Macbeth invokes the airy spirits in Act 1, Scene 5. When she is about to instigate Macbeth to commit the assassination of King Duncan, she invokes the spirits like, "Come, you spirit that tend on mortal thoughts. Unsex me here." Unsex me here has some wider implications. She wants to get rid of the feminine tenderness and feminine sophistication. She wants to be cruel in her thoughts and motives so that she instigates or aids Macbeth in this murder. She does this because she has a strong belief in superstitions. She believes that she would be doing some kind of cruel act only if she is inspired by the evil spirits or evil beings. And as such, she relies and trusts on the evil spirits to give her strength. She further says, "The raven himself is horse that croaks the fatal entrance of Duncan under my battlements." So she visualizes that the croaking of the raven also indicates that this deed is to be committed. She is getting some powers, she is getting some kind of strength in her within, and this she feels that is the result of supernatural beings or the spirits which she invokes. Lastly, there is the play Julius Caesar, in which we have some supernatural scenes. In the play, we have ghosts that act as powerful divine force in the play. Initially, we see that a soothsayer, the seer's warning. In the fair, when soothsayer warned Julius Caesar, "Beware of Ides of March." Actually, Ides in the ancient Roman calendar, 15th of March or the 15th day of March, May, July or October, and 13th day of the other months. So soothsayer wants Julius Caesar to be aware or beware of the 15th of March. And this warning proves true as he was killed on that very day. So there is an atmosphere of supernature in the play. Then there is a dream of Calpurnia. The night before Caesar was murdered, she saw that her husband was being murdered by a group of men and she cried for help. "Help, oh, they murder Caesar." Next day when she tells her dream to Julius Caesar, even Julius Caesar mocks her, makes fun of her and says that cowards die many times, but the valiant tastes death but once, and rules out all the fears of his wife Calpurnia. Keeping aside the warning of the soothsayer and the fears of his wife, he moves outside and there he was assassinated. Other supernatural scene we also witness in Act 4. At the end of the play, the ghost of Julius Caesar appeared before Brutus in his tent, and he was referred to as the monstrous apparition. So that is all for now. Hopefully the information that I have imparted in this video has added something to your existing knowledge of Shakespearean concepts. The points I have discussed are important from the examination point of view. They will be helpful for the upcoming examination of UPTGT, PGT and other TGT, PGT examinations. So like this video, share it among your friends, and do subscribe to the channel if you are watching this video for the first time, so that you keep receiving these videos at the earliest. Thanks for watching.